Welcome, all beings from Earth. I'm your host, Mello, and you're listening to Unknown Realities, a podcast and audience interactive experience where things are stranger than fiction and reality becomes a mystery. This episode's been a long time running, so we're hitting the ground breaking. And in today's episode, we'll discuss the TR-3B Black Manta, an aircraft allegedly created by the United States Air Force with highly advanced weapon systems, including laser technology and anti gravity propulsion. This aircraft is rumored to be responsible for many UFO sightings worldwide. Did we reverse engineer alien technology, or is this just pure legend? Stand by to find out. Follow us on YouTube, Twitch, TikTok, and Discord to enjoy more episodes like this. Small disclaimer: all episodes are for entertainment purposes only. With that said, step forward into the portal and enjoy the show. All right, guys, so let's get right into it. Now, the topic today is the TR-3B Black Manta. And I'm just going to dive right into it. I'll look at the chat when I can and can't and read some questions we may have a little bit later. Okay, so diving right into the topic. According to legend, between 1970 and 1980, the TR-3B Black Manta was a reconnaissance aircraft said to be used allegedly for government operations by the United States Air Force. It is described to be triangular with three bright white and red lights at the bottom of each corner. Now, there's no real confirmation of its size, but witness testimonies have described it as 100 feet to 500 feet across. The Black Manta is made with high quality carbon fiber and titanium, giving it durability with reduced weight. Not only can the Black Manta be operationally efficient in our atmosphere, but it can also thrive in outer space. The weapon systems are said to be a directed and kinetic energy technology with advanced laser capabilities. Now, it also travels at extremely high speeds, reaching 7,000 miles per hour or Mach 10, using anti gravity propulsion. The theory behind how the anti gravity works is that when Mercury is pressurized at an extreme psi, it begins to spin rapidly while cooling to zero, creating nuclear energy. When a strong electrical current runs through the mercury, theoretically, it's supposed to cancel out gravity. So now that we have a basic understanding of the TR-3B Black Manta, I'm going to discuss its rumored involvement in the Gulf War. Now, moving forward, 10 years later, on August 2nd, 1990, Kuwait was invaded by Iraqi forces under the command of Saddam Hussein. The purpose was to take control of oil reserves, increasing Iraq's power over Kuwait due to the large debt it owed. This did not sit well with many countries like the United States because Kuwait had been proven to hold 6% of the world's oil supply. So 35 nations decided to form coalition forces with the United States in quick response to Iraq's threat. The plan was to conduct two phases: Operation Desert Shield and Operation Desert Storm. The operations would be building defensive forces, my apologies, and make a planned ground attack with air support against Iraq on January 17th, 1991. This is when the TR-3B Black Manta would be spotted in action to support the Gulf War. The Black Manta's duty was to use its laser technology to track targets for the F-117A Nighthawk guided bombs. Of course, there is little evidence to prove the Black Manta's existence or involvement during the Gulf War. However, many have claimed that it is real and veterans have seen it during their service while fighting in the Gulf War. So that's just a basic understanding and background of the Black Manta and why the legends about it and the lore about it have been a mystery between civilians and military as well. So, what I'm going to go ahead and do next is play a quick clip showing a testimony of an Army veteran who had claimed to have seen something similar to the Black Manta during his time. So, one moment while I pull this video up for you guys. All right, here we go. I'm going to play this quick clip. It's about 2 minutes, 58 seconds. And it's just going to explain this Army veteran had seen during his time in the Gulf War.
Throughout history, unidentified flying objects of various shapes and sizes have appeared in our skies. Thousands have witnessed mysterious flying saucers, orbs, cubes, and tic-tacs. But unidentified triangle-shaped craft have been reported by thousands of witnesses over the last 4 decades. So the team has launched a new investigation.
Hello. How are you? Thank you. Hey, come on in.
I was in the Army for 24 years. I got to Fort Bragg in January of 1990. Come August 1990 is when Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait.
What Iraq has done violates every norm of international law.
In December 1990, on the eve of the Gulf War, a veteran who asked to be called JT is deployed to a large American outpost in the Saudi desert.
I was deployed north to Hafr al-Batin. It's in heavily scanned, restricted airspace. It was Super Bowl Sunday. It was just past sunset. Everybody else was watching the pregame show, and I was the only one out there. As I looked up into the sky, I saw something that really caught my attention because it was the only thing there. It was a triangle of 3 orangish white lights drifting silently and slowly through the sky. They moved as though they were part of an isosceles triangle. This was not a high-altitude object, probably between 1,000 and 2,000 feet is what I would estimate. It was following a perfect due east course, drifting elegantly through the sky. There was absolutely no sound at all. I mean, nothing. I was stunned. I was straight up stunned. I went back inside the tent and I told my best friend about it, only him. And he had told me that he had heard others talking about similar things. And we really didn't go into it too much because the Super Bowl started and Whitney Houston sang the national anthem, and that was it. Everybody else was sucked into the game. I've never seen anything like it since then or before then.
JT's sighting matches descriptions the team has heard before.
He had a very clear view of lights on the corners of the triangle. It's part of a stunning global pattern that's reported by people from all walks of life, as well as military and law enforcement personnel.
That doesn't fit any type of known area.
Okay, so that was just a quick clip of that veteran's testimony that have claimed to have seen something like the Black Manta during the service of the Gulf War. So, not only have military personnel claimed to have seen something similar during the Gulf War to the TR-3B Black Manta, civilian accounts have also been spotted of the TR-3B Black Manta as well. One account is under the man named Gary Valtunetta. He has seen a black triangle somewhere deep in the highway of Seattle, Washington. Now, I'm going to get into this story and kind of break it down a little bit as far as what Gary had seen that night. So, in November of 1993 in Seattle, Washington, Gary was making his usual daily commute from work. He regularly takes the I-5 freeway because it's the fastest and easiest route home. However, one night during his drive back home from work, he noticed the I-5 freeway had a bad accident resulting in a major traffic jam. The closest route was East Marginal Way, which coincidentally was right next to the main Seattle Boeing factory. So I took a quick snapshot on Google Maps. And if you see right here to the top right, that is the I-5 freeway in Seattle that Gary would normally take for his 12 years of commuting. Now on the bottom, where the little red dot is, that is along the way of the East Marginal Highway, right next to Boeing, where Gary had claimed to have seen this huge triangular shaped craft. So just to give you a visualization as far as what Gary was seeing and where he was at the time. So moving forward, as he's traveling north through East Marginal Way in Seattle, 3 red lights catch Gary's attention, just dead ahead of him on his right-hand side. The lights seem to be moving simultaneously together, going from east to west. Now, like I mentioned before, for 12 years, Gary's been making the same commute on I-5 fairly close to Boeing. So nothing seemed out of the ordinary to him because he knew air traffic was common in that general area. So at first, he thought it was a helicopter of some sort because airplanes don't fly at low altitudes like that. Now, the crazy thing is he couldn't see an actual aircraft. It was almost as if the body of the craft was simply not there, just the lights. Now, one detail that stood out to Gary was that the lights were not blinking like a regular aircraft. This was when he knew that there was no helicopter in flight that he's looking at. Now, even as Gary drove closer and closer to the lights, he still couldn't tell what the aircraft was. He did believe, though, that the lights were fixed together just by the steady unison movement that they displayed. So Gary, being curious, pulled over on the side of the road to get a better look at this thing because he wanted to know what the hell he was looking at. So Gary's going down the freeway on East Marginal Way. He sees this huge aircraft, right? These three lights. And honestly, I think I would have done the same thing. I would have pulled the hell over because I want to know what the hell am I looking at, and if I'm even dreaming or if I'm seeing something actually in front of me. So I kind of understand where Gary's coming from on that, even though it would be a little bit sketchy. I don't know if it could have been some black operation aircraft other than the TR-3. So moving forward, right? Gary was shocked when he saw it was a massive, pitch black, triangular craft hovering less than 500 feet in the air. The only thing he could compare the shape to was having similarities like that of a stealth fighter jet the US military uses. He couldn't believe what he saw at this time, looking at this unidentified flying object slowly moving above one of the Boeing hangars at the main factory building. So to me, that's a little crazy because not only is he seeing this thing, but it's also seeming to go next to the Boeing factory. It just kind of scratches my head. Like, why would it be interested in Boeing, and what is its purpose being around the Boeing factory, right? So with that being said, we're going to move forward. Now, what creeped him out even more was that there was zero sound coming from the object. No rumble, roar, or hum from propulsion engines of any kind, just moving slowly and effortlessly through the night sky like something from a science fiction movie. As he gets back into his vehicle, he's still looking right at the triangular shaped craft until it disappears behind gray clouds that are covering the night sky as if nothing ever happened. Now, with Gary's experience, right, I'm kind of thinking to myself, a lot of people that have claimed to have UFO sightings or a sighting like the TR-3B Black Manta, it's almost like they explain in a way there's some sort of time dilation or as if it's just a dream. And it kind of makes you wonder, you don't know if at the time, is it really time dilation or did you get taken aboard the aircraft? And for all we know, Gary could have been effing around and found out, and he could have probably been taken aboard the craft as well. But I don't know. It just kind of makes you wonder, why does it seem like every time somebody has a sighting, it feels like a dream to them, or they're kind of missing time, making it this sort of illusionary experience. And that's why a lot of people are reluctant to talk about these experiences, because they seem a little bit off the charts. Like nobody wants to fully believe what they're seeing, and they're skeptical, but at the same time, they are experiencing this phenomenon. So who knows? It just kind of struck a thought in my mind, and I thought I would kind of bring that up because it's just kind of strange how every sighting seems to have that similarity, right? So going forward next, right, on the conclusion of what's going on here, Gary now goes and he speaks to his ex-wife the following weekend to pick up his son. And feeling the need to vent, right, he tells her about his experience. Now, he's a little reluctant because he knows his ex-wife is the type of person who doesn't really believe in the UFO phenomenon. However, what she tells Gary next makes a chilling connection to his story and may even confirm further that he's not going crazy. He actually saw this type of craft out on the freeway next to Boeing. So she claims, right, when she's talking to Gary, she claims that while working as a cocktail waitress, she spoke with a customer like she regularly does on her shifts. Except this particular night, she spoke to a customer that told her he was an employee for Boeing. Now, the connection there, you can't deny it gets a little eerie, right? Because what are the odds that Gary has this experience and then he feels the need to vent to his ex wife? She ends up having this conversation with a Boeing employee. Now, next, he explained to her, which is the Boeing employee, right, that there was a building with a huge triangular craft in an underground facility away from general employees. But Gary's ex wife, not being one to really like the phenomenon or even believe it, right, in general, she didn't think to ask too many questions. So she couldn't provide any more information besides what the employee told her. Now, still, it kind of makes you wonder if Gary's account and his ex wife's story may support the possibility that the TR-3B Black Manta not only exists, but is used by our government on a regular basis. Now, I just want to give a quick disclaimer again. This episode is for entertainment purposes only. And so use your own judgment when it comes to these things, right? Now, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to play a quick 2 clips, right? They give you a little bit more visualization as far as what Gary was actually looking at that night. And I felt that these clips really hit the money on that. And they show you a little bit more as far as the details, I guess you could say, that Gary may have witnessed that night. So let me go ahead and pull up my screen and I'll show you these clips. One moment. Okay. Man, that thing looks weird. Look at that. That looks exactly like the thing Gary was talking about. 3 bright orange reddish lights in each corner with a black area. Now check this. Man, that was wild. And it kind of brings up the idea about the anti-gravity propulsion. When I was looking at that clip, I noticed in the middle it just expanded with a huge cloud of white light, and I'm wondering if that has something to do with how I explained earlier about the mercury being cooled and creating some sort of nuclear reaction and nuclear energy. If that has anything to do with that middle console that's expanding some crazy white light and then it just ditches off into hyperspace. To me, I thought that was wild. Those videos kind of really put into perspective as far as what Gary may or may not have seen that night. And you can't deny that there's a lot of testimony, not only between civilians, right? But there's also military personnel, like we touched in the beginning. And I mean, they can't all be lying, right? There's no way they're just explaining these things as if, they know each other and that their stories connect. There's no way those two people probably ever even met, Gary or the Army veteran who had seen the TR-3B in action during the Gulf War, allegedly, right? So it's just fascinating. It's just something that struck a thought in me to go over this so much, because everybody typically focuses on your regular type of UFO phenomenon, which is a circular saucer type spacecraft that fits your stereotypical sighting. But it seems like there's very few occasions where you get a sighting like the TR-3B Black Manta. Now, I know a lot of people have claimed to see triangular spacecrafts similar, but sometimes it's got to make you wonder if it looks like a U.S. stealth fighter jet. How many variations of the TR-3B Black Manta are possibly out there, or are they even our aircraft? Did we actually reverse engineer that technology? Now, my opinion kind of says I feel that we may have reverse engineered some sort of alien technology. I mean, there's no telling, right? This is something out of a science fiction movie. You can't really for sure say it is true, right? But with the technology that's coming out these days, it really makes you wonder, and you want to put the connections together, that there's no way people that don't even know each other have been having similar sightings and with the same characteristics. There just can't be, and in different parts of the world, you know? That just kind of boggles my mind as well, because you, there's one thing if it happened in the same area, but seriously, a sighting during the Gulf War matching up with a sighting in Seattle, Washington, like those are worlds apart. They're not even remotely close together. So the fact that those accounts would have so much in common is just what struck me to make an episode on these stories and these accounts. So yeah, I think it's really interesting, man. I think it's really interesting. And if we did make some sort of aircraft like this, it would be wild to know what we're gonna make in the future regarding, like, we don't know if like, for instance, right? Gary sighting, it was around Boeing. Boeing makes regular aircraft on a typical daily basis. And take this with a grain of salt. I don't know what kind of resources a company like that may or may not have, right? And if they're even capable of reverse engineering alien spacecrafts. I mean, we have the titanium and the carbon fiber, right? So it's not anything out of our reach. But what's really out of our reach is the anti-gravity propulsion. That, I mean, there's a lot of theory behind it, and a lot of theoretical physicists claim to have to be well, excuse me, on their way to discovering possible capabilities of this, and we may even have the technology ourselves. It's really up in the air, but I just think these sightings themselves are really they're interesting to me, and they may actually, there may be something to this. Whether it's real or not, you can't deny that it's not entirely out of our reach besides the anti-gravity propulsion. And if you think of people like what's his name, like Bob Lazar, right? That account, his account happened back in correct me if I'm wrong, right? But back in the 90s or 80s, something along the line. And that was the technology he was talking about back in the day. So just imagine the kind of technology we'd have in today's day of 2025. We probably have some crazy Men in Black stuff, and the public is just totally like unaware of it, or put out of it, or informed, like because of they may have had an experience just like Gary, and it's not so much that they don't want to come forward, right? But they're also skeptical themselves. I mean, we're talking about things that go beyond our understanding, right? So it's just I enjoyed doing this short episode. This is our first one, right? So, I'm kind of a little newbie at this, kind of breaking the concrete running here. And I hope this kind of tickled that itch for you guys, as far as if you've seen anything like the TR-3B Black Manta, that you're not alone, right? So we're gonna take a quick 2 minute break right now, and when we come back, I'll be accepting callers from the audience to share their opinions or experience on the topic. Okay, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after the break. All right, welcome back from the 2-minute break. And get ready because it's callers time. That's right. So this is where you, the audience, can have a chance to come up and share your opinion or UFO experience similar to the topic. The link to join is in the description of the video, on the captions of the stream, and will be provided for the chat. In the chat for you as well. All right. Now, before anybody comes up, right, my only rules are no cameras and please keep it family friendly. If there are no callers within 10 to 15 minutes, I'll close the portal and take us home. Now, with that being said, let me see if I can read some questions or possible comments from the chat. Let's see what we got. Okay, looks like there might not be any comments right now. But so while we wait for some callers, right, I wanted to do something a little special and give you guys my personal UFO story. Okay. Now, again, this is for entertainment purposes only. So use your judgment, and you can even take my testimony with a grain of salt. But this is something that I definitely am confident I can say I experienced for sure. And there's a little bit of receipts as far as the government kind of backing up that what I had seen may definitely be real, and a possibility that, hey, I wasn't hallucinating out there, right? I actually saw something. So I'm going to dive into my UFO story while I served in the United States Navy. Okay. So this all kind of happened, right? While I served in the United States Navy, right? And I was an undesignated seaman. I was working with boatswain's mates back in 2013, and we were deployed somewhere around the Persian Gulf, right, aboard an aircraft carrier. Now, being an undesignated sailor meant that I didn't have a rate, and that's really why I was working with boatswain's mates, doing basic things like deckhand work and standing their watches, um, doing really everything that a boatswain's mate does, right? Now, the watch I was standing was a rotational watch. So we shifted from one station on the bridge to another on the fantail. And one night between 2:30 and 3:30 a.m., I was standing watch on the ship's fantail, right? That's basically all the way to the back of the ship, or what they call the aft of the ship. Okay. Now, I'm all the way to the back of the ship, and I'm reporting surface and air contacts, basically letting the bridge know if I saw any ships or aircraft out on the water. And we really do that just to keep track of what's out there in case radar doesn't pick something up, right? So it was a regular night, and nothing for me was out of the ordinary. The sky was pitch black with stars visible to the naked eye. And it's probably one of the best sights you can see with no light pollution, right? Now, the ship's rudders chopped up a type of algae. I guess it's an algae or some sort of green grass that was out there at night. I'm not sure. It was pitch black, right? And when this algae gets chopped up by the ship's rudders, it gives like this cool little neat light show at the top of the surface of the water. So I'm over here kind of, I guess you could say dazing out a little bit through looking at the algae, looking at the stars, just looking out at the night sky, really. And as I was looking out for contacts, I noticed two orbs of light floating horizontally parallel with one another. Now, one of these was like a deep sun-like orange color, and the other was a very light baby blue color. Now, keep in mind, guys, we usually do flight operations at night, but the flight deck had been secured that night. So there was no flight operations going on. And I knew that those lights out there I was looking at, they couldn't have been any of our aircraft, right? So as soon as I was going to report it to the bridge, these orbs, man, they started doing this weird diamond zigzag pattern in unison. Like, I don't even know how to explain it, but think of just a diamond, and these orbs are taking turns going up and down, left and right, up and down, left and right in a pattern of a diamond. That's like the only thing I could, I guess, make up at the time. And to me, it almost looked like a type of visual Morse code, but I wasn't really sure or certain. That's just kind of what my mind was, I guess, making up at the time, that, hey, this looks like some sort of pattern to communicate, maybe, because there was no explanation as to why that they would be doing this weird pattern. So I contacted the bridge and told them about the air contact I was seeing. I figured that the bridge could easily confirm what I was looking at with all their technology that we have available on the bridge. At least they would be able to answer my question as far as what am I looking at. So this is where things get crazy, man. The bridge reports back to me and tells me they don't have anything on sonar or see anything aft of the ship where I'm located. So I'm over here thinking like there's no way. Like there's no way I'm looking out. I'm seeing these things out. They're clearly out here in pitch black of night, and they're very noticeable because they're brighter than the sun. And that I couldn't accept that the bridge was not looking at what I was looking at. There was no damn way. That to me didn't make sense because, like I said, I'm clearly looking at these orbs and they're still doing this Morse code diamond zigzag type pattern. Then all of a sudden, they kind of come to a complete stop and are once again horizontally parallel with one another. So before I knew it, oddly, just kind of how Gary's story had ended, and this is why maybe I resonate with Gary's story at the end, these orbs just kind of slowly disappeared into the night sky. And I couldn't tell if they went into the water or just vanished completely. And so after that happened, man, it I don't know. I was skeptical at first because you go on watch and you're working all day from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. and then you're standing watch from midnight to 4 a.m. And to put that into perspective, right? I thought I was just tired because I had been working all day, I had no sleep, and I was on watch. However, I contacted the other watch that was also on the fantail on port side because I was on starboard side, right? And port side is the left side of the fantail, and I was on the right side of it. Now, that person, this is what gave me goosebumps, is that person told me they saw the same exact thing. Two orbs, both orange and baby blue, doing this weird shifting pattern is how they described it to me. I was at a loss for words because I thought I was the only one who saw these unidentified flying objects out at sea, right? Now we move forward, and this is what kind of freaks me out about my own experience is that 7 years later, it's 2020, and the government releases a UFO disclosure by showing the famous what is that video called, the gimbal video, recorded and seen by the U.S. Navy Theodore Roosevelt Strike Group. And keep in mind, right, the video was shot in 2015. That's 2 years after my sighting in 2013, while I was deployed on the aircraft carrier strike group. That's kind of what made a connection for me that what I actually saw out at sea was definitely real, right? I felt that it was confirmed in a sense because the government is explaining that there was UFO sightings from the Navy, same branch I served, different strike group, but they did confirm that there was something out there that they have on video that they can't get their hands on or wrap their head around, right? So this is a my own account, and like I said, take it with a grain of salt. It may or may not be something, or it could have been something that like I said, sometimes I'm skeptical. Maybe I was just tired, but at the same time, with how the government has been confirming certain certain sightings and things of the such, it makes you want, it made me wonder that, man, there might be something actually to this. So that's my own story, and I hope you guys liked it, right? Let me see if I can get the link, the invite link, and provide it here in the chat. One moment. That way we can have people join in. But that to me was just, yeah, man. I mean, I don't know. Like, I I do believe in the phenomenon. I'm just not entirely sure what it really is, because people like to say, "Oh, it's angels, it's demons, it's spirit, some sort of spirit forms, maybe, I guess, or it's just a natural phenomenon like ball lightning." And actually, I wanted to pull up a clip that was similar to that, but I'll save that for another episode. like ball lightning, that could be something that also would be mistaken for UFO sightings, because ball lightning in itself, that stuff is trippy, man. It looks exactly like a regular saucer type orb, I guess you could say, but it's a natural occurring phenomenon. And that is something that supposedly, now I'm not a scientist or anything like that, right? I don't discover the weather and do tests on it and nothing, but supposedly ball lightning is made from lightning that's caused up in the clouds and somehow gets formulated and trapped into a physical round form, and it's somehow because of the it gets grounded through Earth's magnetic field, and that's what keeps it on the floor, something like that. Like I said, I'm no scientist, but that's just something I had read before and seen with ball lightning. So that's another thing that I think's kind of interesting, and it makes you that's why I'm usually skeptical, because it makes you think, okay, is ball lightning maybe an explanation for ghost sightings? Is it explanation for UFOs? Is it, maybe there's other natural phenomenon that we also don't understand that could easily be mistaken for something that's unknown to us, you know? So that's just yeah, that's just things that, I don't know, it kind of makes you scratch your head a little bit, and just really makes you wonder, right? So I don't know, man. Let me look into the chat real quick again and see if we have anybody that wants to come up and maybe share their experience or something similar. Maybe they have an opinion. If you guys have an opinion, right, on the episode or the TR-3B Black Manta, you can come up and share that as well. It doesn't have to be a real experience that you may have had similar to the Black Manta. So don't feel obligated that it needs to be an exact experience with the same looking three lights, same way and everything. It doesn't have to. Could just be an experience that you've had with something unidentified that you felt was possibly a UFO, or maybe even not. It really wouldn't even matter, because we don't know what these things are. And will we ever know? That's another thing is, man, we've been trying to go for disclosure for so long, and I get disappointed every time, because it makes me think, are we really going to disclose, like, UFO technology, or the fact that there may or may not be real aliens? And it it kind of it makes me, I guess, conclude that we are going to be the disclosure, because as much as we rely on government sources, or we rely on big media streams that people go to for news and, I guess, confirmations and certainty that, hey, this is real factual information, if we rely on that stuff for disclosure, in my opinion, I don't know if we're going to get it, guys. I really don't know if we're going to get it. And that's why I said, either disclosure's up to us, or we're just the disclosure itself, right? Our own collective of experiences being that disclosure. So I don't know, man. Just, it makes you really wonder sometimes. Let me look at the chat again real quick. I'm gonna have another, I guess you could say, another 5-10 minutes before I go ahead and close the portal and I take us home from the stream, okay? So let me just see if we're going to have anybody else join, anybody else come up and share their experience or voice an opinion. So last call for callers time. I'll give it about a good 5 to 10 minutes. And if I don't get anybody coming up on the stream, I'll go ahead and close out the portal and take us home. All right. I'm going to be on a quick 1 minute mute while we wait. All right. So it looks like we have a guest speaker in here. So I'm going to go ahead and bring them up real quick. Just before you come up, right? Quick disclaimer, no cameras. Stick to the topic of right now, it's about UFOs, anything UFO related, and just make it family friendly. Okay. So those are the only rules I have today. Oh, all right. Never mind. I guess they left. Okay, I'm gonna wait just a little bit more. Oh, yeah, man. Noel, I see that you've never seen a UFO, but you've always wanted to, just never have. Yeah, dude. I mean, who knows, man? When they might, your experience might come when it's least expected. I know mine did. Mine definitely did, man. I had my experience. Back when I was in the military, in the Navy, and I had shared that a little earlier, but I didn't expect to see. Hell no, I didn't expect to see anything during that time, man. So it just yeah, it puzzles me, bro. It puzzles me a lot, and then again, like I said, what I saw out there, I didn't even think was real, right? So I, I say I had a UFO experience, but I still don't know what it was, man. So it's just something to think about. But who knows, Noel? You might have one in the future, brother. With the way things are going, shit. Maybe it'll come sooner than later. uh, I don't unknown master. I don't really have anything UFO related. Sorry, but maybe you can tell me something about it if possible. I mean, yeah, man. I kind of went through everything already, and but yeah, man. If you ever want to come up, like you're more than free to again. You just kind of have to have something related to the topic, even if it's a basic opinion. That's all I'm asking for, man. Nothing crazy. If you haven't had any UFO experiences like Noel or anything, then you're fine, man. All right, let me see if I can catch up on the chat. Still, we're actually getting some chat in. Um, yeah, and I apologize if the stream's kind of not entirely in real time too, so it's hard for people to follow it and stuff because I'm a little ahead of it, I guess, with the stream going. Yeah, no problem, no problem. Unknown master, you're good, man. You're good, brother. Just whenever, I mean, maybe this episode isn't something um that you're familiar with, and trust me, I'm gonna have a lot more episodes to come. This is actually my first episode going live with my podcast, Unknown Reality. So I've never done this before. So we're going in hot, going in new, man. And I'm gonna have a lot more to come. Trust me, and we're gonna polish and brush things as we go. And if you see that, hey, in a future episode, you see something that or feel that you resonate with a particular topic, you can always come back and always come up. The audience chat is open to everybody, and you can always come on live on the stream to share your opinion. Those are just the three rules, though, right? Just no cameras, be respectful, family friendly, and stay on topic. That's really all I ask. Okay. Well, if we don't get a caller in the next 2 minutes, I might just end the stream. But man, I appreciate y'all's support, man. I appreciate you guys coming out, checking out the first episode. It's a little bit rusty, but I'm gonna do better in the future. I promise for sure. But yeah, man, this is gonna be one of many. Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, no master, no camera. I'm only doing that because, well, number one, the stream kind of messes up sometimes. Um, I don't know why. Like, I know people were telling me in the chat there's a delay and stuff. But also, I just kind of want to keep everybody anonymous, and that way everybody can feel comfortable while they're giving their experience or giving their testimony or opinion, right? Everybody, it's hard to get genuine responses if somebody's not feeling comfortable. So yeah, no cameras. I'm gonna run with that. Everybody else kind of has a camera with their live podcast, and I want to go a little different, a little against the grain. See what we could do here. Well, all right, guys, we're running on an hour and 7 minutes. Looks like we're not gonna have any callers come up. So, with that being said, let me go ahead and close this out. All right. So, the portal is now closed and we're going home. Thank you to everyone who stopped by to support the show. Click the like button and follow us on YouTube, Twitch, TikTok, and Discord to enjoy more episodes like this. I'm your host, Mello, and you just listened to Unknown Realities, where things are stranger than fiction and reality becomes a mystery. Good night.